Released in the update, aquatic coral, or coral blocks, or coral fans are an amazing addition to the game, but I bet there's a few things that you don't know about coral. So here we are inside of a Minecraft, and we are on a fancy sandy beach with some naturally generated coral reef out there. Oh man, it looks so good. Obviously, when you're trying to find this for a while, it is so good to finally find it, and we did, so that's good. Also, I'm all dressed up for the occasion in my swim trunks. I got the suntan lotion on so I don't burn in the sun. So we are ready to record this video. So first, how do you actually find this coral reef? Because you have to find this area of coral reef in order to actually get blocks of coral and the coral just hanging out, the coral fans. And just as a bit of housekeeping, that this is a coral block. There is coral, which looks more like, here, let me find the yellow variant. There we are, the horn coral. So we got coral block, we have the actual coral, and then we have coral fans, and these will attach to the bottom or the side of anything. So there are 3 different types of coral when we talk about coral, and we're gonna be talking about all the different types. So how would you find this area, this type of land in your own Minecraft world? Well, you have to find a warm ocean. That is what we are in right now. Not a lukewarm ocean. It's not warm enough. And if you happen to find a deep warm ocean, you're not gonna have any coral spawning there as well. So it needs to be specifically warm ocean only. And then you have the chance for the coral reef to spawn. And whenever the coral reef spawns, then it has all of the different variants of coral, including sea pickles down there as well. Here's a crazy ravine, and there's even coral down inside of the ravine. I feel like every time I say coral, I want to say coral. Coral, coral. Now, if you're just visually looking for how to find a warm ocean, this color of the water on the top is how you can tell. So that would just be lukewarm. This is warm. It's that greenish, very light blue color. It almost looks like there's a sun ray hitting this portion of the ocean. You can see over here where I've added this platform. There's no coral reef over here, but it is still a warm ocean. So if you want to, well, we'll get to that in a moment, but you can use warm ocean for a few other tips and tricks later on. So now that you have found it, how do you mine up coral? If you come on over here with just a normal pickaxe and try to mine the coral, you'll notice that as it breaks into the dead coral variant. So this is not exactly what we want. Also, if we come over to the coral fans or just the straight up coral instead of the coral blocks, whenever we try to mine them, they just break and they won't give us the pure block that we want or any of the decorations. So what you need is a silk touch pick. So this here is a silk touch pick. You just need the Silk Touch enchantment on your pick in order to be able to pick up the coral without it dying, and to pick up the coral fans and the straight up coral. So the coral blocks, I guess, without it dying, and the straight up coral. I would also suggest 2 other pieces of armor with enchants on it. That is a helmet with Aqua Affinity, which will allow you to mine at normal speeds underwater, and Respiration 3, which will allow you to hold your breath for much, much longer. You can also just use water breathing potions if you want, although you can get by with just respiration. I find just respiration is going to be totally fine for this video. And then boots with Death Strider 3. That will mean that you can walk in the water as fast as you can walk on land. So with both of those additions in your enchantments, then you will be able to mine up coral so much faster. So you can see respiration is really taking a while for our breath to go down. We can mine a lot faster, and we're getting all of these coral blocks. Anytime that we break a coral fan or just the straight up coral, then we get the item back. And all we have to do is just do this for a while to mine up. Now, it should be said that coral blocks are kind of a limited resource in that there's no way to grow them from, say, coral saplings or something like that. It's not like trees where you can just grow a few extra. But if you are in a warm ocean and you have bone meal, if you bone meal on the ground, it will have a chance. Oh, I'm not in a warm ocean right there. There we go. It'll have a chance to spawn normal coral and coral fans. And you do not have to do this on sand. So over here, I've created this big platform, and you can just kind of create this, break all of the seagrass, all the stuff you don't want, and then continue on bone mealing until you have enough coral fans and coral that you want to harvest. Switch to your Silk Touch stuff, and then pick those up. So the coral and coral fans, those are basically unlimited, but coral blocks are not. And sadly, you cannot create coral blocks from your coral or coral fans. This would make it so that your coral blocks were completely reusable and achievable in a way so that the coral blocks would not be a limited resource. You can trade for coral blocks. The wandering trader will trade you for coral blocks, although they are expensive coral blocks. Let me just tell you that. Now that we've mined some coral, let me explain all of the various different types that you can get. They have 5 different types, and so each name is associated with those types. We have tube coral, which is the blue one. Brain coral, which is the pink one. That one's easy to remember. Bubble coral, which is the purple one. Fire coral. That one's super easy to remember. And horn coral. These are the different varieties. So you got the block, the coral, and then both types of fan there. All of these also have dead variants. So you have dead tube coral, dead brain coral, dead bubble coral, dead fire coral, and dead horn coral. How do you get the dead variants? Well, either you mine up the coral blocks without using a Silk Touch pick, or if you take your coral that you mined with a Silk Touch pick and place it in the world without it being next to a water source of some type, it will eventually die. And there is no rehydrating and bringing this coral back to life like there is with, say, like a sponge block, how once it's wet, you can use a furnace to make it dry again. You cannot bring this coral back to life. To avoid that, all you need to do is make sure that one edge of your coral is touching water. So right here, if the coral is above the water, that is totally fine. If there happens to be water, say here, and then you put coral here and here, that is totally fine. So over here, you can see my coral that is resting up here. There is a whole bunch of water right there to make sure that it doesn't die. Here is a tip though. That is that waterlogged blocks will work as your water source block that coral needs to be next to. So over here, you can see these coral fans. Those are actually attached to stairs. And so if we take a stair, I'll just, I'll place it in this direction so you can kind of easily see it. Then we take a bucket and waterlog it. And then we take our coral and place it on top of that block or any other type of coral fans, coral, just normal coral, then it will not die. So waterlogging your blocks is a way to sort of get around having to have a water source next to your coral. That allows really cool things like this, where this coral is sitting on top of sand. This block happens to be the one that is waterlogged. Or over here, we have some coral in the sand again. This block is not waterlogged. It's the one that it is actually sitting in that is a slab. And so now that that's waterlogged, you can put the fan there and it will stay alive. Another cool thing about coral is that when you place a sea pickle on it, then you can bone meal the sea pickle and it will create more sea pickles. If you do this in any other surface, I guess I'm standing right next to stone here. So put a sea pickle down and use bone meal on it. It won't do anything, but coral, not only will the sea pickle that you click on create more sea pickles within that bunch, but the sea pickles will show up around the sea pickle that you clicked as well. So you can use this as a quick way to generate a ton of sea pickles. And that only happens on coral. And finally, coral can be used in some really great builds. Right here, this is sort of a dusty shag carpet on the ground, and you could make this alive, just waterlog the blocks below it, and then it could be a colored shag carpet. You can use coral as a different type of stone variety. So this is tube coral, dead tube coral, and this is andesite right there to make a different type of pathway. I've used some horn coral right here and some hay to almost make this look like a different type of feed that is inside of this trapdoor container. Over here, I have some more trapdoor containers with a little bit of coral on the top as a different type of plant, maybe for an office building. This is one of my favorites, a nest. So you could, here you go, spawn a chicken in. And then this is his chicken nest, and it has the yellow coral, so it's almost like hay. There's a whole bunch of different ways to make coral work into your builds. There you go, my list of coral facts. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give this video a big ol' thumbs up. Also, make sure you subscribe for future videos, tips, tricks, tutorials, and spotlights here on OMG Craft. See you next time. Bye.